So this one you don't need a badge. Yeah. Yeah, we only got three. Everybody must be online. Oh, we got four. That's cool. We good. Okay. Bring you back on. Good afternoon. I'd like to bring the Zoning and Annexation Committee to order. We'd like for Clerk Torada, could you please give us the roll?
I'd like to make some announcements prior to the meeting.
Mhm.
Good afternoon, members of the public.
Okay.
For audio quality, we will be muting everyone not speaking by default to maintain good audio quality for council members and yourselves. If you would like to speak during the meeting, during the public portion, please submit your request in the chat. Directions to do so will be listed. We ask that you provide your full name and address, as those are required for all speakers at in-person council meetings. Councilmember White,
Present.
Councilmember Warner, Citizen Member Henry Davis Jr., Citizen Member Stacy Odom,
Present.
Committee Vice Chair Thomas Morgan,
Present.
Committee Chair Dr. Davis.
Present.
4 members present.
I appreciate that. We have a quorum. So therefore, we will hear bill number 6925, amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 1011 Howard Street. We will have our presentation and then our presenter. You got it.
Just need to share it. Go. Share team. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Tim Staub, zoning specialist for the city of South Bend with offices on the 5th floor. This is Bill 6925, a petition by the owner of 1011 Howard Street to rezone the parcel from neighborhood center to urban neighborhood 1 zoning district. The applicant has subdivided these lots into 4 parcels facing Notre Dame Avenue. As these parcels are a mixed zone of U1 and NC, the applicant has decided to unify them under a single zoning district with the intention of building 4 new single-family homes. Rezoning this lot to U1 fits within the immediate context as the rest of the block on both sides of the street, including 2 of the parcels in the subdivision, are also zoned U1, and the vast majority of the northeast neighborhood and east of Eddy Street are all zoned the same as well. The Plan Commission sends this to Common Council with a favorable recommendation.
Okay, thank you. And we'd like to hear from our presenter. We have Miss Angela Smith. Hey.
Good afternoon, Angela Smith with Jones Petrie Rafinsky office located at 325 South Lafayette. Thank you, Tim, for the staff report. This is a fairly straightforward project. Notre Dame had originally rezoned this parcel to neighborhood center for their law clinic. Felt like they found a better opportunity to reuse an existing building on Crescent for that instead. And so to be consistent with the neighborhood and support the neighborhood goals of single family home ownership through here, they would like to rezone the property back to U1 to allow for the sale for 4 single family homes at this block. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I look for your favorable recommendation.
And you did meet with neighbors, all the kind of things from the standpoint we had talked about.
When we did it,
That was the other one. That was the other one. But that was similar. But there was no opposition for that standpoint.
didn't have any opposition at the
Okay.
plan.
Nobody said anything. Let's see how everything else goes today. And I'm at peace. No other questions. Anybody else have a question? You do have a question. Ms. Smith, can you please?
I just want to thank you for that clarification. I thought this property looked familiar, that we had just rezoned it maybe a year ago
Yep.
or less. And so we're bringing it back, always in favor of down zoning. So thank you.
All righty. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? If not, we'll proceed with having our public hearing. If those would like to speak in favor, please, whether you're in present or online, please share your name and your present your thoughts.
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
Okay, those who are in opposition to the bill, please, whether you're in public or online, please come forward and share your thoughts, state your name and share your thoughts.
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition of the bill.
Thank you so much, Clerk Dorado. Then we will close the public hearing and we'll come back to the committee for any final thoughts or comments or recommendations.
I would like to make a recommendation, Chair, that Bill 69-25 would be sent to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Clerk Dorado, could you please take the roll?
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Citizen Member Stacy Odom,
Aye. Aye.
Committee Chair Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Committee Vice Chair Thomas Morgan.
Okay. Aye.
Committee Chair Dr. Davis.
Aye.
5 ayes.
I appreciate that. And for the record, we have Councilman Troy Warner. He's has joined with us, as indicated in his vote. We now have Bill number 7325, amending zoning ordinance for property located at 725 West LaSalle Avenue. We have our presentation.
Tim Staub, zoning specialist for the city of South Bend with offices on the 5th floor. This is Bill 7325, a petition by the city of South Bend to zone the parcel at 725 West LaSalle, going from an on-zone parcel to urban neighborhood 1. During the process of when the city cleaned up the right-of-way along Charles Martin Senior Drive, a former on-zone parcel that was a part of the street found itself as a vacant parcel along LaSalle. As it is a developable lot, the city is now just performing the process to zone it. Zoning this lot U1 fits within the immediate context, as the rest of the block on both sides of the street and along LaSalle are all U1. And the Plan Commission sends this to Common Council with a favorable recommendation.
Yeah, thank you. And we'd like to have our presenter.
Good afternoon, Michael DeVita, Assistant Director of Planning with Community Investments, offices on the 5th floor of this building. As Tim stated, the city in 1968 as part of the around the city kind of punched through Ben Chapin Street, now Charles Martin Drive here, but never went to go formally dedicate the street. So recently we've done that to dedicate the right of way for where the street is. There's some remnant property here that we can make available for development. So as part of that process, then just seeking the U1 zoning that matches what the surrounding parcels are, so that this property can be made available for development.
I appreciate us doing that 57 years later. Yeah, I was born. All righty. Any questions? Any comments? Not regard to the public. Like any member of the public who would like to speak in favor of this bill, please share your name and give us your thoughts, whether you're in present or in line.
I do not see any members of the public in person or online that wishes to speak in favor of the bill.
Okay, those who would like to speak in opposition, whether you're in public or online, please share your name and your thoughts.
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition of the bill.
Okay, then we will now close our public hearing and bring it back to our committee for any comments or recommendations.
Chair, I'd like to send Bill 73-25 to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
Second,
We have a motion and we have a second. We'd like for our clerk to please take the roll.
Councilmember White,
aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Citizenmember Stacey Odom,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Committee Chair Dr. Davis.
Aye. Thank you so much.
5.
We have 5 ayes, and that will go tonight with favorable recommendations to Committee of Whole. And now we have an update for zoning ordinance amendment package review that we heard our last meeting. Well, I heard. At least let's go for it. Mr. Vitt.
Again, Michael DeVita, Assistant Director of Planning with the city offices on the 5th floor of this building. So some of our council veterans may remember the city did a complete overhaul of the zoning ordinance, which went into effect on January 1st of 2020. We found since that time the ordinance has worked very well, seen a high volume of high quality development in the city, some types of development in the city that we haven't seen in decades or maybe never. And even the zoning ordinance even won a national award for its rules and its graphic presentation behind that. But at that time, we talked about that it should be a living document, and we committed to continually improving the ordinance, kind of changing the development standards as the world changed. So with that, we immediately after the ordinance was adopted, we did some series of amendments or revisions to it. So now we think we're due, perhaps overdue, for another series of amendments to keep the zoning ordinance relevant. So we're beginning that process here. So in a moment, Brian will preview the first round proposed updates. Not voting on anything here tonight, but wanted to introduce the ideas so you can understand those and ask questions ahead of time. So our goal here is to have this first package of amendments head to the Plan Commission in December, come back to this committee and full council in January. Then we would have probably a series of amendment packages then come to the council through 2026. So I'll just cover kind of the main rationale for why we're revising the ordinance here. First is on ease of development and flexibility. So where are some places we can kind of loosen up the rules without affecting quality, just to make that process easier, or provide some more flexibility or options on how to meet the rules. Second, to reduce unnecessary variances. So we kind of look at what the Board of Zoning Appeals is typically hearing. So if we see a variance come up kind of over and over again, to which the Board of Zoning Appeals always grants that variance, then if you have a rule that you always grant the variance, I kind of think in essence you don't have a rule. So we revisit those. Third category is kind of modernizing the ordinance. So things that may not have been around or as much. So things like infrastructure for charging of electric vehicles, or in a post-COVID world, differences on home occupation rules. So you'll see some of that. And finally, just some general clarifications and corrections. So just as we've heard from people using the ordinance who didn't quite understand what we were getting at, to clarify some of that language to make it easier to use, then just some corrections of cross references or extra pieces or missing pieces of punctuation and those types of items. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brian to get into a little bit more detail on the specific proposed rule changes.
Good afternoon, committee members. Brian Killen, zoning administrator on the 5th floor of this building. So I'll go over some of the details, and to that, I also printed out and provided copies of the summary table, and after this meeting, we'll provide the actual text as well as the electronic copy of that. We are putting forth quite a few changes because it's been a few years, so it's a rather large package, but nothing too groundbreaking or in terms of its significance. But so there are 81 rule changes with 130 citation changes. Many of those account for repetition, such as changing the size of the tree caliper, the tree that allows streets. They haven't. But you can see most of the changes revolve around principal uses, general updates, building standards, and landscape. And again, landscaping is largely because the tree is. But in terms of those buckets that we talked about, that Mike talked about, the next few slides are about, well, how do we ease development, make development a little easier, acknowledge, while keeping with our rules and the flexibility. One that came up was duplexes. It's a great way to get some extra density in neighborhoods. So we made some changes to various areas of duplexes, including, I guess the most consequential one would be allowing 2-unit dwellings by right. In U1, that's one of those variances that would come up often. So that came up over 20 times in the last few years. So we're making that change that in U1 by right, duplexes would be allowed. We're also acknowledging some of the allowing the number of duplexes per lot. So we're proposing to allow 1 in S1 and U1, and then 2 duplexes in all other districts, and then adding some acknowledging that in suburban lots they're larger, so the lot width or the maximum width of a duplex could be 60 feet versus 48 feet. That's just an example around the particular building type of duplexes. And then we've also added several changes around building form, stories, building widths, and height. The first there, building height changes in S2, U3, and UF. We're adding, again, we're recognizing in context, buildings in those areas are usually taller. So we're adding some height flexibility in those particular districts. All other district heights requirements would remain the same. We're also proposing for stacked flats specifically. We want those buildings sometimes to be longer than maybe a block would, to take up more of the block. So we allow that building type to be longer. So we're proposing in some of our zones that have larger lots, like downtown in S2, to have wider buildings. And then removing the 2-story minimum on height there. And also we're proposing, and you'll see one of the slides we're offering, I've listed several zoning administrator changes. This is one of them. We're proposing 50% floor transparency, which is a very technical one, but that one's in there for building form. This is a good example of why you want a flexibility in transparency on the second floor. Gable roofs and residential, the requirement would require more windows, but that wouldn't work in a second floor gable like that. So. Industrial, we're proposing several changes in industrial. Unlimited, one thing that comes up, usually parcel larger, or I'm proposing unlimited accessory structures in commercial industrial. Changing the way, right now it says that in industrial, front door has to be prominently located and visible. We're proposing for some uses that could change with a zoning administrator review. And we're also acknowledging that building materials have gotten better in terms of making them concrete masonry units or CMUs look more like stone or brick, acknowledging that to allow those as building materials. And some others, I don't have to go through all these, and again, they're in the packet, but removing owner occupancy requirement so if there's an ancillary dwelling unit on a property, we're proposing to remove the owner occupancy requirement. It's not something that's hard to enforce, ownership of. We also want to encourage ADU development. We don't get too many requests for those, but we feel like owner occupancy is a barrier to those ADUs being developed. So And again, some additional lot widths and commercial square footage size updates. And the last one, we're also revising or overhauling the trash enclosure rules. We get lots of requests and pushback on, you know, the enclosure, especially if it wasn't visible from the street, had to be, there was no flexibility in that. It had to look like the building, even though it wasn't visible. So we're trying to be a little more flexible there. In terms of unnecessary variances, one of the big ones we've seen recently is the request of rooftop spaces. So in the zones that this impacts, the building heights for 4 stories, 55 feet. Developers were requesting to more actively utilize that rooftop space. They're already allowed to utilize it. They just couldn't put any structure above 4 stories. So we're offering, proposing with zoning administrative approval with lots of criteria that those could be by right allowed. You still have the height restriction of 55 feet on these buildings, but you can see here the criteria where it's only accessible for the building residents. It has to be limited to 25% max of the square footage of the roof, and then it should not be visible from the street. We feel those are criteria that would restrict you know, unsightly rooftops that maybe folks don't want to see. So here's an example of a recent one on South Bend Avenue that was approved by the I think this might have been Plan Commission. All right, other variances, building widths, requests. We get a lot of fence requests for schools and daycares or you know, institutions where they need some privacy or some at least protecting for public safety. So they request 6-foot fences in the front yards. So that's one of those that will, with zoning administrator approval, be able to review. We're exempting pergolas, not unlimited size pergolas, but accessory structure pergolas that would not count towards the accessory structure number for a property. And keep in mind that exemption would apply to pergolas no larger than, I believe, 120 square feet. So small patio type pergola. In terms of modernizing the ordinance, one of the big ones you'll see that we've focused on, we've gotten quite a few requests for use variances or special exceptions for things like salon or beauty or hair. So we feel like the home occupation rules really restrict the use of the home anyway for home occupation. For example, 1 client at a time. And we're hoping to improve that by adding operational hours from 7 to 9, and making an allowance that if you did want a side door maybe for the business, you could, as long as it's not facing the street, that would also be allowable. And a couple others of note for modernization, requiring that suburban homes have some transparency in windows. That's currently not in the code. Every other district has window transparency requirements, so we're adding that to S1 and S2. Something that NNZO explicitly wanted to see was prohibiting astroturf or artificial turf in front lawns. We're proposing to prohibit that in front and corner yards, basically visible from the street. We're proposing to prohibit that. Adding allowing EV charging stations, and here's a good example. That's an actual photo on the right of a home with astroturf in the tree lawn and the front yard. And some requests for also come in for, you know, these type of intensive uses, gas stations or beer and wine sales. So we're proposing to provide additional review by council to add special exceptions in commercial and industrial for gas stations, downtown commercial industrial for beer, wine, liquor, tobacco sales. We're also adding a minimum lot size for auto sales to help improve the location of those. Again, just to reiterate, so special exceptions. New special exceptions will be gas, beer, wine, liquor, and tobacco, and then removing the special exception requirement in U1 for duplexes, specifically new construction duplexes. Conversions would still require a special exception. And I know I mentioned a couple times zoning administrator authority. So we're adding several items where the zoning office would review these requests, and I'll just read these. They go from large to small, reducing the size of a parking space from right now it's 9. Maybe we can, in tight spaces, allow 8 feet for a parking space. Increase the building front, how far a building can encroach into the setback when there's contextual setback issue. Allow an alternate design on the trash enclosure rules, which I mentioned, waiving the top floor transparency up to 50%. Waiving the front entrance requirement for industrial, allowing 6-foot fence height for schools and daycares, and then allowing the use of artificial turf in certain instances like game courts and athletic fields. But all those would have to be approved and reviewed by the zoning office. And then a host of, again, it's been a few years, so clarifications and corrections, exempting things like little free libraries. We were counting those as accessory structures. They will be exempted now. Making grammatical corrections, making intent, just clarifying intent. We even have found that in our current rules, open signs were prohibited. So we're adjusting that. That's why you see the little open image there. So that will be allowed under standard signs. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Before we start off with, I know we did this back in 2019.
It was adopted in 2020. Yeah. In 2020, it was effective and then we updated in 2021.
Mhm.
September 21 is the last update. Oh, it doesn't. I think it was just staff changes over time. But now that we're fully staffed, I think we're going to put this on regular maintenance. I don't want to see large packets like this. And we're going to put this on a cadence where it's once or twice a year. We'll come and also tweak things as we need, because I know like the NNZO would like to see changes. So we'll probably come to you with an NNZO change or something. But yes, it'll be on a regular maintenance where you'll see this happen more regularly. Yeah. Well, it is a special exception, so the council would have, we can make a recommendation, but it would still be the committee and the council that decide if a project was going to be authorized. So I don't think yeah, because we didn't consider a distance from.
Mhm.
A lot of these are talking about the
Mhm.
I'm not sure gas station some of that. Okay?
Mhm.
I don't have.
I do.
That also makes it easier. And what other legalities that I remember years ago we did.
Synthetic.
Much
Mhm.
more back in the day. Yeah,
Mhm.
remember?
That was in regards to the one issue I'm going to ask a question about in regards to, I don't want to cut you
Thank
off.
you.
I'm going to let
forgot.
you continue, Chair, but I do have some questions, some statements.
Yeah. So, yeah, back then, I mean, I would really like to see how stringent we can become. I mean, when it comes down to those, I mean, I'm online now, so sorry, I got to get used to this mic. But when it comes down to issues of vaping issues, anything like that, what can we put in place to really put a hammer down? I mean, within the law, I know Michigan is different from us when it comes to a lot of stuff, but what can we do since we are still in Indiana from that as we look at this is not coming up until December. So can we review that?
Sure, I can look at that. I'm not aware of any specific statutes. Our only limitation would be constitutional due process and equal protection issues.
I understand. Yes, sir. Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say, just so it's clear here, so the proposal here being moving it from a permitted by right to a special exception. So we'd have the chance to review each proposal to come into,
Oh, I agree.
apply criteria as we will.
And I think the issue of like I stated earlier, of us being able to do this on a more annual basis, because I mean, I'm glad we're doing it. It's just a lot to break down all in the one. I'm glad you separated in two chunks, but still in one chunk is a lot. And so I think the more we do it, it helps us to stay up to date with everything else. And then you talked about the occupant being able to use those AVE. How did that really help? How does that really help to encourage more? Because you said you would like to see more of that taking place. And what's your rationale? Do you like to see more of that taking place?
I think ancillary ADUs or ancillary dwelling units are a way to, say, a property owner that owns the primary house
Mm-hmm.
to, well, I have an opportunity to create a rental space on my property,
Okay.
but we're saying that maybe someone maybe they're in real estate and they own a house, but they right now the rule says if you wanted to add a rental unit on a property, you have to live in the primary
I
structure.
got you.
So we're saying, well, we want to remove that resident owner occupancy requirement to say that maybe there's some maybe there's a small business that wants to go into and do this, but they can maximize the use of a property by creating ADUs that they can rent for whatever reason. But right now we say you have to live there if you want to do that.
I remember those. Okay, I got it. I was wanting to clarify that in my mind. So basically, if I had a business, but I wanted to rent out a part of this section of the house for living, but I don't live there, I just have a business. I can now, with this new rule, have my business and still rent that place out. But currently, we won't be allowed to do that since I don't live in there.
Yeah, and the ADUs are usually, they can be attached, but they're usually like carriage houses in the back. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they could be. So this allows for, let's say there's a local landlord who has a house, could add additional housing units, ADUs, since they tend to be small, provide additional housing generally at lower costs than surrounding ones, and a way to add more housing choice into a neighborhood without fundamentally changing the character of that area. So generally, kind of owner occupancy requirements are thought of as kind of a drag on the production of ADUs. So as we kind of cautiously add ADUs into the
understand.
city, I think thought it was time to remove that piece, as we've had some experience with them now locally to further promote the development of ADUs in the city.
I'm at peace with that. I'm glad to see that one. Councilwoman Thomas Morgan, you have any?
Oh,
Okay, Councilwoman White.
yes,
then?
I do. Okay, thank you so much for the
sure.
presentation. I've been asking for probably just among asking myself and maybe our attorney. I said, we're getting so many special exceptions.
Mhm.
And why are we getting those? Because I'm thinking when we originally went and updated the whole zoning, that was one area that was going to be addressed. But I know times do change. I do have some concerns in regards to the special exceptions for the gas stations. In certain neighborhoods, they did not want, if you drive down one area, you can count the number of filling stations that they have just in one particular area. But most importantly, there was a concern about the filling stations in regards to the time that they're open. And then in some areas, it tends to bring about a different clientele, and we were having difficulties. And that's why the whole issue of synthetic drugs and addressing these filling stations, and a number of us, even probably about 11 o'clock PM, we were out, waiting to see what was actually happening. So the gas stations, with special exceptions, I need to have some more information on it and where they're going to be, and also some of the issues that they bring with them.
Again, here, similar, this would remove them from, or change it from permitted as of right to
Oh, yeah.
a special exception. Because
Because some of them are
yeah,
challenging.
exactly. That's what we've seen, some issues around those. Then some of those can be quite context specific. So
Mhm.
in a C zone in one place and C zone in
Mhm.
in another, some are very close to residential properties. For instance, so
Their
look at,
backyards.
yeah. So we look at just even if they're not troublesome, just the kind of noise and activity that comes with them. Even some sense around you smell like gas vapors, as you live nearby and don't want that kind of exposure. So a special exception process would
Okay.
then allow us to study each one in a little bit more detail
Please, yeah.
to see if it's an appropriate spot or if there should be any additional restrictions on hours or other services provided there.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Mishawaka, I could be wrong, they have an ordinance to deal with their filling stations. I don't know. I heard that, so I'll do some more research.
I'm not positive, but I think they may actually have like a gas station zone that
Mm,
they
yes, that's what
apply.
they
So
have.
there's
Mhm.
rules to that, and if there's something we want, in general, we do have a gas stations section that we apply additional standards to the gas stations specifically. So we can do that too if it.
Can we
makes
get some
sense,
more
but-
information on that gas station zone from
Mhm.
Mishawaka that Councilwoman White's talking about, if you can email to us?
Okay, I think we can track that down.
Okay, and then see how that could apply to South Bend. I mean, you can always learn from others. Council President Lee. Microphone.
Thank you for your presentation. In regards to what Dr. Davis was saying about us being as stringent on these vaping and tobacco shops with gas stations, I just want to make it clear for everybody that the special exception means that it has to come before the council.
Correct.
And we have the ability to say, we don't want that in that neighborhood, and it
Mhm.
won't be able to be there. So I know that we did that over on Portage. And so, again, I just wanted to make for clarity that the special exception makes us where it has to come before council. And if we don't want that to be in a neighborhood, we can vote it down.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I agree with that. And that's why I'm going to know how far we can go when we can limit some of these things in terms of what can even be put in there with them. I'm glad you clarified that. And it's nice to even know how much teeth we can put in when it comes down to, because so many of these places are having these vaping things in there. And it's getting to the point where, I mean, I'm dealing with fifth, sixth, and seventh graders who having access to it. And I know it's so easy for them to get it. And so they're not being regulated right. They're not this and that. And they're right behind these people's houses. So I just really like, that's a pet peeve of mine right now. So I appreciate that. Councilwoman, are you finished, President Lee?
Yeah, I
Then we
just
go
want
to Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you for that clarification, reiteration, President Lee. I think that's important for us to remember. It is within our authority to approve or deny those special exceptions, and I think rightly so. I don't have the zoning ordinance in front of me, but I'm just, could you explain definition of transparency? And so, we require, rightly so, a certain amount of transparency, but then I see buildings that may have the transparency, but they are, there's advertisement on them, or I don't know, I mean, there's, paper that covers up the the windows so that they can put shelving behind. I mean, I'm assuming we define transparency in the ordinance, but I just wanted to know your thoughts on that or how we define it.
Yeah, so kind of starting at the top, transparency is like windows and doors that you can see through. So the ordinance sets by district a certain percentage that needs to be kind of see-through glass in windows or doors, and this generally affects just the street-facing sides. So yeah, there are instances where businesses may put up signs or other coverings. They still they can put up a covering as long as they still hit that percentage. We do see a lot, and I know we were I think talking in the last few days of some of these. Some of us come to those same kind of vape shops and gas stations seem to be the worst offenders about putting a lot of signs and coverings in the windows. So if it reduces it below that required transparency percentage, then that is a zoning violation. So that's something our office would then look at to rectify.
So I'm hearing you say that when they are covered up by advertisements or whatever, that it decreases the transparency requirement, even though there's glass.
Correct, because you have to be able to actually see through.
Okay.
So not to get too nuanced about it, but like you can have window signs according to some rules, and like again, you can cover the windows to a degree as long as you're not dropping below that required percentage.
Okay. So then when they violate that, it becomes a matter for code for us to be able to.
Generally through our zoning enforcement.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I may have other questions, but I'll just follow up with you individually. Thank you.
Last question I have in terms of the rooftops. Could you go back over that one again real quick?
Yep. So just to explain again, we've seen, and particularly in areas near the University of Notre Dame,
I know.
that you can do as of right a building of 4 stories and 55 feet in like a U3 district or a UF district is where we typically see these. It's already permitted by right to put to have a rooftop deck where you could be outside on that, but the zoning ordinance would not allow, let's say, like a community room or space on top, because that would constitute then a 5th floor.
But it says, would that also, excuse me, deal with issues of lighting and sound? Because
Yeah.
where the reason,
Yeah.
well, the area that you're talking about has consistently, I mean, people are out there. I mean, the reason why you do that is late at night kind of concept. I mean, you could do it during the day too, but it also has an element for night, and then for the neighbors nearby who may have sound issues or lighting issues, what could we put in place with that to make sure that those are not considered nuisances for the neighbors?
The yeah, not covered here directly, but there's lighting and noise rules in the ordinance that would apply
Okay.
to these.
Just making
And
sure.
in certain cases, if some of that activity moves inside to a community room, then the noise is not carrying it as far.
I just want to make sure that as we adjust to new nuances of life, that our noise ordinances and our sound also adjust to that nuances issues too. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, understood.
I'm at peace. Any questions? You, Steve? Yeah, you good? Back to Ms. White, back to Mr. Thomas Morgan, back to President Lee. Good. Any other questions we have? Attorney, you're thinking? Anything you have right now? Okay, I'm at peace.
Okay.
So,
If I could,
ahead.
yep. So that was the point. We know we gave you a whole lot
I know.
here, and it gets very technical. So that's why I wanted to introduce it here. So yeah, we'd encourage the council to study through that summary table or the ordinance language itself that we'll share, and please reach out to us with any questions.
One last thing I should have asked it in our zoning meeting the other night, but what, as you separated these, this is POW 1, section 1, and then you're gonna come back again with another section 2. What's the major difference between section 1 and section 2? What made you classify them differently?
Yeah, we started with the ones that are actually kind of, I don't know, call it easier or more direct, where we're changing a number or a few words. The ones that took less thought,
Okay,
I guess, that we could advance easily to get them on the books. Then we'll the future packages will probably be fewer items, but a little bit more detailed or a little bit more thinking around them.
okay. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it. Are they, yes, go ahead.
I don't think I understand clearly. So with the vaping, you said that you could cover it up or you could have signs, and then if someone wanted to vote on it, it would come back to your department for them to vote if they should take it out or keep it. Then how would we get our opinions in for that?
Okay, maybe two different things here. So for just that, like a vape shop or tobacco shop or gas station existed at all, would go from right now would just be permitted, so they could just file for permits and go. So that would change the proposals to change that to a special exception. So it would go through a public hearing process with the council. In terms of covering up the windows, they just have to meet the requirement that's in the ordinance. So if they don't meet that requirement, then it becomes a zoning violation, which is handled through the zoning office.
Oh, so it would be this office and not your office?
It'd be my office, yeah, handles zoning violations.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you again for that clarification. We continue to review POW, section 1, and then we look forward to the section 2 that comes up in 2026. All righty. If there are no other comments, from you all clear for right now? All right. Thank you. Everybody else? Mine's clear. Then we are adjourned. Thank you for attending, especially to our citizen member. Appreciate it.
Oh, sorry. The informal meeting, we will have our invocation from Pastor Doug Neal from Christian Life Center in South Bend. We'll have our pledge, roll call, reports from subcommittees on minutes for November the 10th. No special business, no reports from city offices. We have 3 bills in committee of the whole, 3 bills on third reading, no resolutions. And then we'll go to bills on first reading, unfinished business, new business, privilege of the floor, and adjournment. We will see everyone back tonight at 7 p.m. Thank you.